So this video is probably the most annoyed, angry rant that I'm ever going to post in any of my videos, but it's doing my absolute head in. So before we get into this video, I need to make sure that we're clear on my biases, because I do have some, because I'm human. I am pro freedom of speech. And I would say that I lean probably just right of center politically. And I believe that any joke is acceptable no matter what. I believe in full, complete freedom of speech. And I also believe that if GTA 6 comes out and it panders to everyone and it's soft, we should ridicule it, because that's not in the culture of everything we know and love about the Rockstar Games titles. However, and I know I say that a lot in my videos, but this is the biggest however ever, I do believe that we should criticize Rockstar based on the truth, not misinformation. Case in point, a recent video from Andy Pants Gaming and a load of people across all different forms of social media completely taking everything out of context and misrepresenting the truth. Now, before we break apart all of these key points about why GTA 6 is supposedly going to be a big woke fest and the worst game ever and all of this, we need to get a few things categorically straight here. I believe in speaking out against games that are pandering to any formal community. I think games should be, in the truest form of expression, accurate to what they're trying to portray. But people like Andy Pants Gaming and other channels similar to that aren't helping the cause, because what they're doing is fabricating information to back up their arguments. I've seen this from numerous channels within the GTA community. They go for really extreme thumbnails and titles that just use keywords to get their audience riled up. So without further ado, let's break apart this video.
As I combed over every detail of the GTA 6 trailer, I noticed they have no problem stereotyping and poking fun at black people. They have no problem stereotyping and poking fun at white people.
Firstly, no one's having fun poked at them in the trailer. They've recreated some funny Florida Man clips, but there's nothing about this where the intent was to poke fun at anyone. So saying that they make fun of white people, black people, but don't dive into any of the communities is absolutely absurd, because there is nothing at the moment to back up that statement.
But did you notice a suspicious absence of them making fun of the LGHDTV community?
No, it didn't show any of that stuff, because there's never been a Rockstar trailer that's had that stuff in it. None of the previous Red Dead or Rockstar trailers have had that in it, and from what you say later in the video, those games weren't woke. So surely if you're applying the same logic, that means GTA 6 won't be woke. He then makes 3 points that can't really stand up to scrutiny. Firstly, about who Rockstar are hiring, and I've seen this a lot on social media over the past couple of days. People bringing out screenshots of Rockstar developers saying that they have she, her in their bio, and that means they're extreme lefties and they're woke brigade and all of this. When in reality, some of these developers have made posts ridiculing the idea of things being woke. I think having she, her, or whatever in your bio is a generalization for an extreme left ideology, because that's something that a lot of the extreme left ideologies have in their bio, but that isn't enough to get the full context and understanding of someone's political agenda. Now, if a load of senior Rockstar developers start posting extremely left-wing stuff on their social media, that would be a fair point, but we haven't seen any of that yet. More importantly, we haven't seen anything that substantiates any of the writing, narrative, or tone of the game will be extremely left propaganda. The only thing that he actually brought up in his video is that they used the word inclusive in one job listing. One job listing out of the approximate 6,000 employees they have. Now, it's worth noting that their hiring managers that write the job listings aren't involved in the development of the game itself. And using Wayback Machine, their job listings all the way back in 2006 onwards always had things like diversity, inclusion, all of these sorts of things listed in their job listings. This is nothing new, this is just general corporate speak. But if you look at any games developer's website, a lot of them have the word inclusive in it, because the word inclusive isn't just about diversity, sex, relationships, all of that stuff. The word inclusive could be anything from team building, could be anything from the employment contract itself. We don't know. And using one keyword as a buzzword isn't enough to build up a whole picture of what GTA 6 is going to be like. This is the biggest reach I've ever seen, and I make speculation videos. He then goes into detail about how the Confederate flag and trans people were removed from GTA 5 and other Rockstar titles.
In 2021, Rockstar removed all rebel flags from the game and replaced them with American flags.
Which is true, but there is cause and there is effect. He's explaining the effect, he's not explaining the cause. And the reason for these being removed wasn't because Rockstar are going woke, they're not scared, they're not extreme snowflakes. No, actually, Microsoft, PlayStation Network, and Apple threatened to remove the games from the stores and stop supporting the games on those devices if things such as the Confederate flag were in the game. Now, when it comes to historical accuracy, you can have things like this in games, but Rockstar couldn't use that argument to defend it. Rockstar going public and arguing against a Confederate flag and all of this would be an absolute PR disaster. This isn't about Rockstar being soft, it's about the fact that they still want people to be able to play the game, and just to remove a couple of lines of code is far easier than having to go on an all-out war against Sony publicly, who they're currently partnering with, and Xbox. Put simply, they had zero choice on the matter. Your anger about this should be directed towards Sony, Microsoft, and Apple, not Rockstar. Bonus round, that flag was actually used by a different gang in GTA, so having it at the Lost Trailer Park made absolutely no sense at all. Now that third point about Dan Houser being happy that GTA 6 wasn't released during the last Trump presidency, well, you showed the title of the article, but there's a reason why you didn't show what the article itself actually said, because it would completely blow apart your argument. Because what Dan actually said was that the election period was crazy because both the left and the right were on the edge of absurdity, and political divisiveness was scary from both sides. Dan isn't a woke lefty, but showing what he actually said doesn't support your narrative.
So like I said earlier, the trailer is all that we really have to go on for GTA 6, but if this trailer represents the final product of the game, this is bad.
It was a 1-minute trailer, that's not enough to know where this game is going politically. He then talked about the trans people being removed from GTA 5.
The moment you say that there is a special group that cannot be made fun of, you no longer have a GTA game, you have a pussy crybaby game.
Now the actual reason they were removed was not because Rockstar became soft, it's because people were using clips of them mowing down and unaliving trans people as a way to push a political agenda online. This was put into the game as a kind of tongue-in-cheek, piss-takey sort of thing. It wasn't put in the game as some sort of political agenda, and people trying to use it as a political agenda is the reason why Rockstar moved it. Their games aren't political platforms for people to use and abuse, it's just a game. So rather than face public backlash, yes, they removed it. Now this is the only thing that maybe you can consider slightly woke, but in my personal opinion, this is more just good business practice. No matter what angle you look at this from, it doesn't look good on Rockstar, and the extreme left would twist this to be absolutely catastrophic for the company. And there's no positive way that Rockstar can come out on social media and defend it being in the game and not look like that they were encouraging it. Hopefully that makes sense. This isn't about being left or right. This is more about common sense. The next thing we need to talk about is probably the funniest thing in the whole video. Apparently GTA 4 was homophobic, according to Andy Pants Gaming.
Did we forget that GTA 4 is one of the most homophobic games of all time and it's hilarious?
Now I want to make it very clear that making a joke about being gay isn't homophobic. Being homophobic is being actively against gay people, and you're starting to sound like the very thing you hate. Also, the Ballad of Gay Tony DLC. Are we forgetting that one? You know, the whole DLC for GTA 4 that was centered around a gay nightclub owner? Especially when the gay nightclub owner wasn't the butt of the joke anywhere in that. He was an accompaniment to the story.
In 2020, after the George Floyd riots and all of the BLM stuff, Rockstar removed the Cops and Crooks game mode from GTA Online, deeming that it was offensive.
Apart from, that's not what happened, is it? They didn't remove it. It was never even released. They were about to unveil it publicly, then the George Floyd thing happened a week and a half before. This is not being woke, this is just not being a prick. Them releasing an update called Cops and Robbers after something so politically divisive happened would absolutely sink the company. Based on search traffic, this is one of the biggest pieces of news that happened in America in the last 5 years other than the pandemic. So if they were to drop this update as and when this happened, this would have been a general PR disaster and just bad for the company. This probably would have caused a lot of investors to back out of Take-Two Interactive and therefore lose a lot of money for Rockstar Games. This isn't about pandering, it's about being mature to the fact that this is a really controversial issue, and dropping an update that's directly related to the title and situation surrounding the public worldwide event is really just a bit insensitive. Like I said earlier, you can joke about anything, but Rockstar Games isn't your comedian at your local comedy club, it's a big corporation. This is exactly in line with what happened in 2001. During the development of Grand Theft Auto 3, initially you were able to fly planes in it and the Twin Towers could be seen in New York. They decided to remove this from the game because it was a little bit insensitive to have that ability for people to recreate that really disgusting event in the game. But your argument is that Rockstar never used to be quote unquote woke, but now they are. They didn't go ahead with the Cops and Crooks update for the same reason they didn't put planes in GTA 3. So what is it? Was Rockstar woke back then or are they woke now? Because in your video you say that they never used to be, but now they apparently are. It's also worth noting that some of the content from the Cops and Crooks update did actually make it into future DLC. Obviously, it's just been rebranded and renamed. Then we have this clip of Jamie King talking about GTA 6, and you frame this clip as him saying that the game would be woke. However, in the actual interview, he says that there's an opportunity for a tonal shift. That's really it, and you're keen to emphasize that he's one of the founders of Rockstar, but at no point in your video did you mention that the last Rockstar title he worked on was San Andreas, and he left the company 18 years ago. Whilst I believe his opinion does have some validity in the grand scheme of things, I feel like you're intentionally missing out the fact that he hasn't been at the company for nearly 2 decades is clearly intentional on your part. And in many of your videos, this is something that you do across the board to misinform an audience. To conclude this video, I believe that if GTA 6 comes out and it panders to any sort of demographic, I will be disappointed, and I will be the first person to make a video voicing the fact I am disappointed that Rockstar didn't do the full GTA experience. But at the same time, criticizing the game and also insulting half the developers and saying some really quite disgusting things about the developers based on the fact that you nitpicked evidence that you misinformed on and ignored the sources for the evidence and ignored the context makes you just as bad as the far left people screaming about how everything's offensive. There's many games out there that pander quite extremely to the extreme left, and those games deserve to be criticized, but fabricating information to criticize other games completely diminishes your argument and makes a mockery of the whole freedom of speech movement. What I'm trying to say is, come correct or don't come at all. I think the most damning part of Andy Pants Gaming's video is his closing statement.
If they end up making fun of the LG HDTV community mercilessly in their game, I will take the L and I will apologize and say the game is amazing.
The very fact that his idea of a good game is just how offensive it is, nothing to do with the stories, nothing to do with the graphics, nothing to do with how complex the characters are, nothing to do with anything else that makes a great game. For him, the only quantifier of a good game is how offensive the gay jokes are. This is the last video that I'm going to make about the whole GTA 6 woke stuff. Unless the game actually does come out and is woke, then of course we are able to criticize it with context and knowledge. Thank you for watching this video. As always, don't send any hate to anyone mentioned in this video, but I feel like having correct information out in the public is more important than having misinformation out in the public. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you did enjoy, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Spin this in